Hi, Ron again. I hope you're having a great day. Now we're going to go over Revelation chapter 2. Here's where we start talking about the seven churches. It says in Revelation chapter 2, verse 1, "To the angel of the church in Ephesus write, the words of him who holds the seven stars in his right hand, who walks among the golden lampstands. I know your works, your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and have found them to be false. I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary." They tested the people who were false and found them to be false apostles. So when people came in and said, God sent us, we're apostles, and they would teach things, these Ephesians would look at the scriptures and test what they were saying, and they found out that these people were false. They were saying things that were not biblical, and so they didn't fall for it, didn't believe them and follow them. But I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love you had at first. Remember, therefore, from where you have fallen, repent and do the works you did at first. If not, I will come and remove your lampstand from its place unless you repent. So he tells them here, the thing he has against them is they've lost their first love. And what this seems to be talking about is their love for God. At first they were all excited about God and focused on Him, but then slowly they were losing that. And I see this happening in a lot of our churches today. What can happen is sometimes, because human beings just like to be involved in a cause and it makes them feel good, and the fellowship of working with other people in a cause, they get excited about that cause. And that can happen in a church. Maybe the church as an organization or the programs within a church can be the cause that they become so focused on that they lose their focus on God and their close relationship with Him, their love for Him, their first love. So that's what he seems to be saying happened here in Ephesus, and that's what we have to be careful about. Is your focus, is your love for God as strong as it was at first? And it should continue to grow. You should never go down in your love for God or just stay even. You should continue to grow. And the question is how do you do that? Well, the key I've noticed in my life, and just from looking at other Christians, the big key is always how much time you're spending with God. If you're spending time with God daily in His Word, that just continues to remind you of how awesome He is and how great He is and how much He's done for you. And that's where you get strength in your relationship with Him. So I've noticed that people who don't spend much time in the Word, they have a lot of trouble. And it's very important not just to listen to preachers or something, but actually to spend time one-on-one with God in the Bible yourself. And the reason for that is, a lot of preachers will sometimes, talk about a verse for a few seconds or maybe 30 seconds, and then they'll go on and preach and not come back to that, the scriptures, or else they'll just talk so much about, this commentator said this, or this theologian believes this, or this pastor said this, and try to make jokes, illustrations, that I think it actually kind of waters down the Bible sometimes. They're so focused on those things. So it's very important for us, for our spiritual health, and to keep that love up, to spend time with God daily. So are you doing that? That's what I want you to think about and work on if you're not. Then he goes on and says, "Yet this," in verse 6, "yet this you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches." So he talks about the Nicolaitans here. Nobody really knows what the Nicolaitans were. It doesn't describe it here, and we don't know. So, but it's obvious it was a false teaching. So he's complimenting on them that they hate what these false teachers were doing. And God says that's a good thing. So he's already said that earlier in the verses, that they weren't listening to the false apostles, and they're not listening to these false group of teachers either. So that was a good thing. Then he ends the part to the Ephesians by saying, "To the one who conquers, I will grant to eat of the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God." And what he's talking about here is the tree of life. It was in the Garden of Eden, and it's also going to be in the New Jerusalem in the future. And so the tree of life, it says in the end of Revelation, we'll see it talks about how the tree of life, the leaves provide healing for the nations. So that's going to be a tree that gives physical life and keeps you physically alive and heals you. So we'll end there for now, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.